Welcome back to the podcast and today's episode with me, Johnny Pardo. Today, I welcome Jeremy Delk onto the show, where we're going to be talking about his journey through entrepreneurship and all the lessons he's learned, and really looking forward to hearing more about Jeremy's journey today. So just a quick introduction to Jeremy. So Jeremy is a father and serial entrepreneur with a passion for disrupting industries. Since 2001, his businesses have earned hundreds of millions in revenue, created hundreds of high-paying American jobs, as well as other notable distinctions. His book, Without a Plan, is also available for people, and it's on sale now as well. So, Jeremy, I know you started actually day trading at a very young age. And getting into that from, I think it was the age of 16. So yeah, it'd be really interesting, first of all, to hear what inspired you to do that at
hmm
16 years old. And
Yeah.
then how did your journey go from there to becoming this big entrepreneur that you are now?
Yeah. No, great question. And thanks for the intro. Excited to be here, Johnny. Um, you know, like most things, looking retrospectively, they sound a lot cooler than they were, but mine were very basic and and I think that's really the title of the book, Without a Plan, is that, you look at me 25 years later, two Inc. 500 companies and public company exits and acquisitions and all these great cool entrepreneurial successful milestones, but it was 25 years in the making, right? So you hear all these overnight successes, but I'm an overnight success, 24 plus years in the making. um, the start of it was very basic. So I lost my father when I was 7, at a tragic motorbike accident. And I think I talk about stability and instability, especially as a kid. You can't show a child stability, right? It's hard to articulate, right? How do you demonstrate stability? um we had a very middle class, 3-bed house, good neighborhood, had a dog, like, so we were very comfortable, loving family, like everything was good. When my father passed, he was a breadwinner. My mom was a young 21-year-old stay-at-home mother, um, and it was 26. She was 21. She had me, so she was 27 when he passed, and um, it was like her world was turned upside down. Right, love of her life passed away. Two young children, like a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old child. No income, small life insurance, which I'll talk about in a second, and like just your world's just wrecked. So we went from that comfortable house, to a smaller house, to a smaller house in a shittier neighborhood, to an apartment, to a smaller apartment. So like that's when I was really able to see instability, right? So not only did I lose my father, which was like that tragic, like hard to process and understand,
Mm.
it's that ripple effect afterwards of what happens that you kind of go through. And um the so that's that. I grew up in I live in Lexington, Kentucky now. I grew up in Bardstown, Kentucky, which is a small town, bourbon capital of the world. And I think there were two zeitgeists that were kind of really working in parallel. Like one channel of I I recognize that it was a lack of resources and money that was predominant. Besides sorrow and pain and all those things that, of course, happen with loss, it's that aftermath afterwards, that for the tail for 6, 12, 18 months afterwards, that was really so hard on our family, right? And it was like scary and this uncertainty, whatever. So that was a resource problem. We didn't have money. So
Mm.
like I wanted to make money, right? Like that was a driving factor. Like, hey, I don't ever want to go through that ever again. So I think that's why a lot of entrepreneurs now, come from not a lot of money, right? They're coming from, um, you know, not money, and then they're motivated by that and kind of going through. So that's probably that first parallel. The second is I always had this dream, to go out and you know I had this feeling of like a small fish in a big pond type mentality where I wanted something more. And I didn't know what it was, but watching movies growing up, like I always saw New York City as like that was like the hub. And I equated New York City with two things, the mafia and Wall Street. I didn't think I was a candidate for the mob. So I was like, hey, Wall Street. So like literally wanting an aspiration to kind of get into a big city. And like Sinatra said, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. get and land up in New York City and make money. That was the motivation that kind of started it at that young age.
Oh wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
quite a lot of drive there, and then yeah, ending up in. How did you find like working in like Wall Street, like in terms of like the pressures there for you? Was that something you were able to
Well, so
cope with? I'd just be curious to hear about it.
yeah, so so when my father passed away, I got a scholarship at School of Providence in Rhode Island, and I had like $35,000 worth of stock that was mixed between 20th Century Mutual Fund and Disney. So my mom at 17, actually, when I was still in high school, gave me permission to start trading that account, and I kind of got out of those. And so this is 1997,
Hmm.
and I'm trading, and I'm on Raging Bull message boards and things like this to really kind of teach myself. I was self-taught. I was reading the Wall Street Journal and Investor Business Daily. It was a very bullish market, as you'll remember, in the late 90s. And from starting very disciplined and just, small and scared at high school, I got a little bit more brazen in college, and the market was roaring, and I ended up taking that small amount of money. It's about $2 million in assets from 30 grand, which is pretty impressive. Um, Unfortunately, the dot-com barrel kind of busted, and I lost $2 million inside of 4 days, which wasn't great.
Oh no.
Um, but that, you know, retrospectively was probably one of the top two better things that happened to me in my life, like that breakdown, because it gave me I was a failure at that point, lost all the money, all the, just shame, etc. But I had a choice to make, like a lot of us do as entrepreneurs or just people, right? You're faced with adversity, or you're faced with some type of event that happens. You can tuck it in and pack it in and go back home, which was an option for me. I could have went back
Hmm.
home and, said, hey, young kid, went to college, did okay in school, made some money, lost it, and then worked at a factory or something. Like that was an option for me. But I I didn't want that to be my story. So I just hunkered down and got a, odd job to odd job to odd job. And that ended up, um, you know, fluking into an opportunity. I was renting apartments next door to my townhouse that I had bought at 19, and met a guy. I was every time I would rent a unit, I would get a commission. So I would go to these like welcome mixers to try to find existing tenants, to see if they had friends, so I'd make some more commission. And talking to one of the guys there, he had actually just relocated, was in temporary housing with Fidelity Investments, and we just started talking about the market. And he was blown away with the market depth and the knowledge that I had at the time, just because I was a kid. And he gave me an opportunity. I changed from day school to started going to night school, and started going to Boston. And I was the youngest broker to ever pass a Series 7 at Fidelity at 19 years old, which was pretty special.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like yeah, things sort of like developed a lot from sort of like yeah, 19 years old then.
Yeah, and I think, that pressure of the $2 million losing it, like, okay, that
Mm.
happened. But what the lesson that I learned there is that, within 2 years from that fall, I was on Wall Street. I was living now in New York City. I graduated college early, and I built myself back up. I had an apartment in Soho. Like it was good. I didn't have the $2 million back, but I proved to myself that I could do it. And I was still here. So like when I would go and face the next problems, because there's always problems in life, there's always adversity.
Mm.
Next challenge or the next failure that happened, um, I would go back and say, well, like when I started Delk Enterprises, um, I left Fidelity in 2001. I was 21 years old.
Mm.
So a short career on Wall Street. And I started Delk Enterprises. My first year in business, I made $6,000 living in Soho. Like my apartment rent was 5,500, so didn't really fucking cash
Mm.
flow.
Yeah.
But I literally had a conversation with myself, like, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like, I'm not going to lose $2 million in 4 days, right? So
Mm.
like, it was that, and I think that's a big lesson for folks, that humans, we're very very smart, right? And we have these self protective properties, um, that allows us to kind of block out bad shit, right? That we don't want to remember. So I'm not one to think you should, live your life in the rear view and, but I do think there is something with hindsight being 2020 and taking some lessons away from that. And think about it. It's like hopefully your listeners didn't lose $2 million in fucking 4 days, but
Mm,
I guarantee you they had something. They had something in their career, their personal life, their marriage, whatever, that was like, fuck, this is it. Like, this is
mm,
Armageddon. Like it's over. It's all done, whatever. Until it wasn't, right? Now you're listening to this podcast and think back on that and you got through it. And I
mm,
think there's something there and taking those lessons and understanding like, okay, it's okay. And looking back and getting comfortable with understanding that you can persevere and survive that through, it makes the next decisions much easier, right? Because I think a big piece we talked about it in the green room, so many entrepreneurs suffer from this, paralysis by analysis
mm,
and just like let's make a plan, like let's all these things, and it's all of this delay not to make a decision or to actually take a chance, and it's under the guise of I'm not ready, I still need to figure this out, whatever. All of that is bullshit. 98% of the time, the reason they're delaying is because they're scared, and they're scared of failure, and not necessarily failing of like, hey, I didn't get the result, I didn't get the company, but it's what people will think about you, right?
mm,
And how you'll be perceived. And I talk about this all the time that, no one fucking cares about you. They don't. Maybe your mom fucking cares about you, but that's it. And your wife. No one else cares about you. And the quicker you can, they care about themselves. Like everyone has their own shit. Like, okay, there's something in a news article. This is a topic. Like that's all noise and like it's a distraction. But everyone has their
mm,
own stuff, their own business, their own problems, their own finance issues. Everyone has their own stuff that they're worried about. That's who they care about. So the quicker you can kind of come to that realization, there's a massive peace that comes upon you. They're like, okay, great. So just me, my family. How do I do this? And going through, and it's that perseverance, right? I look at employees and staff that I've got or companies I invest in, and it's easy when it's all going well, but
mm,
show me how you react when you got a punch in the face and this big breakthrough.
mm. I love what you said in particular, Jeremy, about looking back actually in your life and realizing that you've overcome things before. Like
Mm.
your example was losing the 2 million. Like the list that may have had a real big challenge, and at the time, I've certainly been there. You feel like this is the end of the world. This is the end of
Mhm.
my life. I'm never going to get over this. Yet you do,
Yeah.
and
Right.
and it's
Yeah.
easy to dismiss and forget about it, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
remember,
I use death a lot, like, funerals, right? Like you look at that process, like you lose someone, it's tragic, you're in shock. Then you've got these swirl of emotions. Then there's like in the States anyway, like we have like a visitation, which is like usually open casket, and you go there and visit them and like have like pay your respects. And then the next day there's a funeral. And it's at that next day that's when it really kind of ties in. They bury the loved one, and then like, okay, wow, like it's really here, it's official, and like it just really sets in, and that's where you see the husband, the wife, like the family really kind of get upset. And then it's a bereavement lunch. By that dinner, you're not really thinking about it anymore, and like, and as every day goes back through, like we block those out. That's just a human nature, right? So that's death is obviously a big component
mm,
of that, but it goes back to, yeah, this business loss, this lawsuit, this whatever the thing is, that we just block out. And again, I don't think you should revel in it and always think about it, but just look at it as fuel. Like, fuck it, what can happen? I look what I already survived, and we've already got everyone on this podcast listening has their own hero's journey already written. They've already kind of made it. They're here this far, against adversity, against strife and struggle. So you're already strong. Don't forget it. I think that's the biggest piece.
mm. Yeah, remembering your own power and what you've done already,
Yeah.
is your example. I like what you also said about the overthinking it and the sort of like planning. And I've also worked in like sales, and I've seen people sometimes I have a conversation, oh yeah, I'm considering this, and then a year they come back and they're still considering everything and then no further. And I've seen
Yeah.
people that have had deep meaning, that deep conversation, and yeah, actually I really need to do this, and you've got a bit of insight on what actually is going on with them, and then jumping in and getting like real results. So yeah, definitely resonate with sometimes we can hold ourselves back with like, I need to think about it, I need to make decisions, and not just necessarily in the sales environment, but in life opportunities as well.
Yeah,
So,
for sure, for sure.
yeah, with that one. So how, like, for the person who's like does get caught in that kind of planning, that I need to think about everything mode, but they want to take a bit more action, how can we start to practically apply that day to day?
Yeah. So, it's a great question, and thanks for asking it. So, like for me, I I don't have the ability to like half-ass it. I'm either in or I'm out. So for me, I was still working on Wall Street and I was dabbling and investing in real estate and building houses and stuff. But like, so Delk Enterprises was formed, but I was like kind of it's on the side and I just wasn't really fully committed because you had a day job, you had these different things.
Mm,
So for me, it was very much like, fuck it. What's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is, it doesn't work and you go back to Wall Street. Like, so it was, I'd already kind of calculated the worst case. I was going to give myself a year to see how it went.
mm,
And I resigned, had no income. I'm fucking crazy. And I don't, you don't have to, but that's just how I'm wired in order for me to do it. And it worked 24 and a half, 25 years later, I'm still in business and everything's good. But most people don't take any step because they see that as the only opportunity. Like, well, I'm not in a place to quit my job. I've got kids and I'm not going to fucking, risk the house and what have you. So they just don't do anything. That's the mistake. You can make these micro starts and just take one step and then one step. I don't care what it is. Like, give me any
mm,
example. Like, hey, you want to sell like, this is for a condo project. You want to sell decorative letters. Cool.
mm,
This is great business. Well, what do you want to do? Like, you can put up a Canva website. Like now, like when I started 20 years ago, like it was hard to fucking set up a company. Now, like it's everything is so easy with the internet, tech, data. Like you can do so much more. So put up a Canva website or a WordPress site. Go on Fiverr and have someone, help you out. Do a Facebook focus group. Say, hey, I want to sell these beautiful, custom, letter signs for apartment houses. Whatever it is, you can go and make these small steps to build your confidence up until you're ready to do that, right? So you can, take an idea, test it, product market fit, hustle, like side hustle, and then build your confidence that way. But take a step, and then get over like, well, what's going to happen if it doesn't work? Well, who cares if it doesn't work? The next one maybe will. You just
mm,
can't think of it that way. And I think a good question to ask, because I think the question is, what if it doesn't work? What if I lose my money? What if fucking everyone laughs at me? All the like those are the list of all the questions.
mm,
Number one question, what if it does?
mm,
What if it does? What if it fucking works?
mm,
Right? Like, and no one thinks about that. Everyone's mind, you're talking about your podcast on mindset. It should be like, don't be fucking negative with your mindset, right? Because like that's what you're talking about. It's like, but that's it. Like when you say mindset, it's everyone typically is programmed to like you get close to a thing, it's hot, don't touch it. Like we are already programmed to obstacles and negativity in our lives,
mm,
and we want to protect ourselves. We fucking look both ways before we cross the street, not because our mom told us to, because we don't get hit by a fucking car. So everything in our psyche is like, hey, what's the risk? Risk, safety, help. Say like that's how we're wired,
mm,
as opposed to this abundance approach of, wow, like what if, who knows? What if I'm the biggest, most successful guy selling these fucking bronze letters in the world? Like, and that, like,
mm,
what if, what happens? Like, I think that's one. There's another one I didn't take that one's me. Another one I actually saw on social media somewhere, which was so good. How big would you dream if you knew you could not fail?
mm,
It's a pretty interesting thing, right? So like everyone's like think small, like it just goes through. It's like Grant Cardone's friend, like that 10x idea, like think bigger, just put it out there. There's no reason why you can't do it.
mm. Yeah, the questions I've often found, like in my past, and then even working with people, are not the most empowering questions sometimes, like you were touching on. Like, what if this goes wrong? What if they laugh at me? What if I lose my money? Those questions are always available. But
Yeah.
also like, what if this turns out to be the best decision of my life? Or
Yeah.
what if I make a fortune and I can look after my family and go on all the trips and all the growth opportunities I want to? So those questions you're saying are available as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, this sounds like you're asking yourself some very powerful questions there. And yeah, even that one step is a very, very
Yeah, because
powerful first step.
that one step it does two things. One, it'll either work
Mm,
and like give you courage to go to the next one, or it won't work and it'll fail. But then you'll realize, well, fuck, okay, it didn't matter much. It's okay. And then maybe I can
mm,
try this way, right? So either way, that one step, if you can just take the one step, you're so much further than 90% of the population.
mm, just the one step. I love it,
Yeah.
Jeremy. Jeremy, one thing I wanted to just touch on before we sort of start to wrap up is obviously you're doing a lot. You're running these big businesses, and you've had a lot of what people perceive to be, quite a lot of pressure in terms of things you've gone through. How do you sort of like unwind or keep your mind sort of relaxed? Because a lot of people often get caught up in stress and it kind of holds them back a lot of times. So yeah, just be really interesting to hear what's your approach to dealing with stress.
Dude, it's it's a fucking daily reminder and a daily kind of grind that you just got to check yourself, right? I think I've been doing business long enough. I'm really big into like energy and manifestation and kind of going through in your mind and like just really a lot what you do with positivity, but just like positive thoughts. And like I just think thoughts are real and thoughts and emotions are so important. So I try to hone that in. I
Mm,
think I'm pretty fucking good at it. Like I can just see it and it happens and it's like it's a fun trick to play. But as good as I am, I can still consciously fucking see myself like, dude, shut the fuck up. Why are you saying like I have negative thoughts all the time too, right?
mm,
Even though like I know like listen, and what I say to myself is like, cool, all of this is a waste of time. None of it's productive and it makes you feel bad. So like why are you kind of doing that? So you just have to kind of just catch yourself. It's natural. You're going to have them
mm,
and it's okay. You got to constantly remind yourself on like, hey, this is that. As far as the stress goes, look, everyone has different approaches, different rituals and
mm,
things that they do. For me, I tend to work a lot at night, like when the kids and the wife, everyone's asleep, it's quiet. I get more work done at home in a few hours between like 10 and 1 a.m. than I do at the office for an 8, 9 hour day, just because everyone's kind of coming in and distracting you. So I try and do that there. And then I try and be present, right? I work 24/7. So it doesn't matter, right? If I'm leaving today early at 3 o'clock to go grab my kids and we're gonna from school and then we're gonna go to a basketball game tonight, like I have that flexibility. I'm leaving early, so it may mean I have to work at 11 o'clock tonight. So it doesn't matter. Like for me, it's a 24-hour cycle, and you want to be present with your family, your kids, and that gives me peace. And the business I enjoy, and the stress comes like, I don't look at problems as in the world like that's what I get paid to fucking do, right? Like as a CEO, like you get to a CEO and the owner or founder of a business. You're the lucky one that gets the fucking worst problems in your company. That's your job. That's what you deal with. So that's how I get paid. That's what I do. And I just look at that as like what I've got to kind of get through. I don't look at it like, oh, why is this happening to me? Or this is, oh wow,
mm,
the sky's falling. Like that's my job. Solve these problems because they're all solvable. Everything is solvable.
mm,
Everything.
mm.
Money,
Everything.
time, resources, partnership, like figure it out. Like that's where it goes. And then you know, and you'll have to remove the emotion. I think that's a big piece to it as well.
Mm,
Like so many, I'm a big believer that life is nothing but a series of events. It's only the actions and emotions that we apply to the said events that will determine if they were a good or a bad thing, right?
mm,
It's like that old Chinese farmer, right? They talked about like, they were out farming and the horse ran away. Like, oh my God, the village, like, oh, that's so bad. Oh my gosh. And the guy's like, maybe. And then the horse came back the next day, 10 horses. Oh wow, that's amazing. That's so good. The Chinese farmer said maybe. They were out farming. kid broke his arm. You've heard the story. I don't have to kind of go through it.
Mm,
So the whole idea is that we don't know, like it, and we have no idea what what one action will entail in the future. So why apply these freak out emotional things? So that's what kind of causes people to not think clearly most of the time.
mm. Yeah, I remember my coach telling me that story, one of my coaches, and yeah, it made a lot of sense back then. So no, I like that, like removing the emotion and actually realizing that you kind of choose the meaning. That's another thing the mentor, one of
Yeah,
my mentors taught me. He was saying like there's an event and then we put the meaning to the event. So having that,
yeah,
realizing you have that choice is a really empowering thing. As
yeah.
you go through your day and you're like, okay, it's my, it's my job and I don't need to attach this kind of, oh, it's happening to me, mentality.
And then if when you get good and master it, like then you can like have fun with it. And it infuriates my staff. Like I can get a lawsuit. Like, all right, fuck it. Oh my God, the lawsuit. Like, well, cool. This is interesting. And like almost laugh about like, well, this will be interesting to see how it works out. Because it will work out. Like something will happen, but you don't know. So like let's just be around for the ride and kind of go through and see how it goes. Again, you can't be, you know, laissez-faire and life's not lollipops and gumdrops, but remove the emotion and just like, okay, how do we go? Next, 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 and just look at it that way.
Mm. But it sounds like, Jeremy, you're doing a lot of work daily to sort of work on your thoughts anyway, consciously, like you said, with like the visualization
You have
and things like that. Yeah.
you have to because so many people, especially in America, like so many people are absent their conscious self. They're just going through life because they don't want to think about like the things that are going on. Maybe because they're scared, the finances are not happy with their life, or they're overweight, or whatever it is. So most people go through life um, without a conscious perception of what's going on. That's why they're going through and boozing up and partying on the weekends and can't get away, or they're going to work and it's a social hour and gossip or whatever, or they're going home and watching shit TV. Like all of those are just they're looking at fucking social media and scrolling on their phones all day. Like all of those things are tools or drugs to distract you from your consciousness, right? And everyone falls into it, but if you're going to be productive, you've got to really set with your thoughts and understand what they are, and you are in control of them. You have this internal dialogue, or really more a monologue, I guess, with yourself, and like it's your choice, like it's your journey, right? Be
Mm.
positive, be fucking negative. Like I don't. It baffles me when I find negative people. It just fucking blows my mind. Like, how can you be this fucking negative? Like, just it makes no sense. But they exist, and that's their thing. And hopefully, they get help. I coach a lot of people like that. They're going through things. You know, life is too short. Like, be positive, be optimistic, but be aware that it is never going to work out as you think it will.
Mm.
Totally. And there's going to be things that happen. But a lot of things, these things, if you heard this probably as well, like things happen for you, not to you,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, I love that. And then, yeah, I like your perception or your approach of having fun with things, like even like the lawsuit, for example, as well. And yeah,
Yeah.
things aren't gonna. That's one thing I had to let go of is like the need for control because there's no such. It's an illusion of control. There's no such thing.
No.
I realized over the years, yeah,
Yeah.
you can't control it at all. So, yeah, Jeremy, really appreciate your insights today. And I know there's so much value and service you're giving the people out there. So, before we wrap up today, where can the listener find you if they want to find out about more of your work, look into your book, or just reach you in general? And is there a final point you want to leave us with today? Maybe it's something we shared or to wrap
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. No, look, I think, change your perception on failure. Like failure is, I think when we grow up, we have this negative connotation and you get an F at school or whatever. And like it starts off this negative component. Like you need to learn to embrace failure, celebrate failure, because that's where the learning happens. Like I've made, all the successful deals I've had, very little I've learned from those lessons because they're easy, right? What I've learned and built and how I've built successful businesses is through fucking getting punched in the face and kicked in the stomach. All
Mm,
these things, those failures is what's given me the strength to do it. So go for the failures, chase failure, right? Like the subtitle of my book is a memoir of unbound action and failing my way to success. Literally, that's what I talk about is like 20 something years of failing my way to success. So you do you experience failures by taking action, right? That's it.
Mm.
So I think that's my hopefully takeaway is take a step, whatever it is, take one step. I'm Jeremy S. Delk, S is in Steven. So Jeremy S. Delk on all socials. And then you can find me at jeremydelk.com as well. And the book's everywhere, Barnes and Noble, um, Audible, Amazon, wherever you find retailers.
Amazing. We'll be sure to link all that up in the show notes below. So once again, Jeremy, a big thank you for coming on and everything you've shared today.
No, my pleasure. Thanks, Johnny.
Awesome. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.